Hello, my name's Jeremy. If you're clicking on this video, you're interested in a 7th-month update after graduating from Bellevue University's Master of Science in Industrial and Organizational Psychology. The first thing I'll start off with is what's new. Do I have a job in HR? Yes, actually, and specifically within HR talent management. I attribute not only applying what I learned in this program and other things that I was doing to my job prior to getting into this role, so that way I had scenarios that I could speak to about how I would approach things while in HR to speak to in an interview setting, but also the networking. So what do I mean by that? There was a program that was presented to the organization that I was working for about leadership development and what did that look like. With my IO psychology degree, or the content that I was learning at the time, I pushed back on the program in a healthy way, in a constructive way, to make it more specific and research-based. Ideally, the program that was presented was just putting people through a bunch of trainings with the hope that it would change their perspective. And I didn't like that. And in fact, I pushed back in a way that helped the leaders that put together the program see that it needed to be baked out more to give a better return on investment. A specific example is measuring what does success look like. One, the program hadn't been defined in a way that would show organizational leaders at a higher level of responsibility what a successful program would be. Essentially, completing all of the trainings that were in the program means success, but that doesn't translate to effectiveness of the program. It just translates to you're 100% done with the training, so you pass the program. That's not that's a check mark mentality, in my opinion. So by pushing back based on what I learned in my program, not only did the program get developed a lot more, but I was also included on some other conversations, which leads to networking. The program within Bellevue University does emphasize networking, but I would have tripled my efforts in networking, and especially with IO psychology professionals within my company or within the companies that an individual will be looking forward to get into. The reason that I say that is because networking not only helps you with advocates throughout the interview process, but it also helps you to get opportunities on various projects that performance alone may not get you on. And I'm not a fan of the buddy system. I'm not a fan of favoritism. I am a big fan of let me perform and show you what I can do. But the true nature of corporate America, in my experience, is you have to complement that with who you know. But I just make sure that I have genuine intent when I build relationships. That's super important to me. What else can I talk about? I think another aspect of another thing that I would do differently is be a student of the company that I'm working for while being a student in the program. And if you're not going to Bellevue University, be a student of the company that you're looking to get into. For example, I was already in the company that I wanted to work for, but how could I look at where the company is going and apply what I was learning to the decisions that was being made? For example, if I wanted to get into a semiconductor company because I'm really passionate about computers, I just really enjoy IO psychology, I would say, okay, well, what are some of the things that the company is doing? Let's say that the company decides to move its headquarters from Silicon Valley to somewhere in Alabama. My first reaction is, from a business perspective, it's probably saving money. But from an IO psychology perspective, I would say, okay, let's talk about the employee experience. Let's talk about the talent that will be there. Let's talk about how you may or may not be able to develop the talent that's there in Alabama to help you meet your strategic objectives. Let's talk about the cultural norms of Alabama. Will the residents of Alabama be open to what the company stands for in terms of diversity, equity, and inclusion? Will the laws, and IO psychology is not really about laws, but just from an HR perspective, will the laws at the state and local level be in favor of moving the headquarters to Alabama? It's just this additional set of questioning, or this lens that you develop that's fact-based, that's evidence-based, that's research-based, that will help you to put your stamp of approval on something, or help you formulate a constructive opinion and formulate it in a way that's healthy feedback. I hope that makes sense. Because if you think about it, if moving the company to Alabama is going to limit the company from a talent perspective, then the company is reducing its competitive advantage, and you don't want to be in a position where you're working for a company that doesn't have a competitive advantage, especially when people is one of the main ways to gain an advantage in an industry. What else? I find myself saying yes, but tell me more a lot when I'm asked to do things, because I'm thinking of theories or constructs or traits that I've read about or wrote about in my papers. My wheels are always spinning in the back of my head, because I'm like, there's so much more to just leadership. When you say leadership, that's a construct that's based on so many different things, and really there's no universal definition to leadership. So what do you mean by leadership, and how can you create an operational definition that everyone within the organization can rally around? Because what I define as leadership in this company might be different from what somebody else defines as leadership in a different company, especially in a different country or different part of the world, right? There are those moments where you have your academic lens that can help you reduce your learning curve, but experience always needs to be the complement to that. For example, if there is a leadership development program that's being created with an IO psychology degree, you know about different leadership theories or different leadership models, right? And you can articulate that in a way that adds value to the development of that program. But what you may not know, because you may not have experience, is this is a temporary phase of the company. For example, if the company every 5 years rotates its organizational structure to ensure that it's flexible and meets the needs of whatever the business environment is, you would not know that just based off of knowing about leadership theories or models. So therefore, you would be creating a development plan based on a leadership theory or model that works in this business environment, but not what the company may pivot to later on. And thus you need to take a step back and say, okay, my experience tells me that this structure stays the same for 3 years, and in another 3 years, it will change back to what it originally was. So I need to set up my leadership development program in a way that creates flexible and adaptable leaders. They need to have a tolerance for ambiguity that this leadership construct or leadership model may not have, right? So you just look at things a lot differently. I will say that it does give you a unique advantage compared to the traditional HR practitioner, because there's just so much beyond what's on the surface. And from an IO psychology perspective, you know that and you can articulate it. I hope that what you take away from this video is the program was well worth it. I would do it again. If you're interested in IO psychology and you like the things that I'm talking about, definitely go for it. Just know that statistics may be a curveball for you. And I also hope that you take away, when approached with responsibilities or tasks within HR from an IO psychology perspective, you will always dig deeper than the next person. You will always look to apply the research that's out there, and ensure that not only is your solution effective, but it's something that you could potentially scale, repeat, and gives you the outcome that you're looking for. Hope that this helps you. Have a great day.